Hi, everyone. The next short story by Philip K. Dick that I'd like to discuss, because this is indeed one of my favorites, is This Exit Leads In, which was written in 1979. And I would say that the main reason why it stands out to me the most, out of all the stories, actually, is because of its incredibly cynical and exaggerated kind of soulless and very depressing, monotonous atmosphere that it has, which he's very good at portraying a lot of the time. But I would say this is one of his best examples of that. And it's this kind of, I guess you could almost call it like a kind of this psychic sort of vampirism that is that he's trying to satirize. And basically, it's about a college student, a young man in his early 20s, who one day tries to order fast food from a robot. But in reality, there's some ulterior motive. This machine has tricks up its sleeve, and it ends up offering him a prize that drafts him into a military college. So in reality, it's not really a prize, but it's this entire test that operates, it's an educational system that it operates according to, I guess you could say, a kind of a social credit score. He doesn't use that term, but that's often what's implied, because in the intellectual world, in this case, it's more passive aggressive and more slimy, and that's also what is particularly nauseating about this story. But eventually he discovers that after doing all these, like going around all around the mulberry bush with all this insanity, the Socratic method, which is used in some very interesting ways that don't really make sense, and also discovering this technology called the Black Panther that has infinite supply of energy, but is withheld. That has to be withheld from common knowledge because it's about trying to keep the population and society in control. So after all this, he discovers that in reality, even after being told that he's going to go to jail if he fails this test, it's actually a test to see how quick he is to submit to authority. So in other words, if the real failure is actually if he submits, which he does, and he never ends up going to jail, but he ends up indeed being a laughingstock and really a statistic amongst probably thousands of other people who have fallen for this trick. And in reality, this is a satire of some very similar things to the things I've talked about in the previous video about the military, because indeed speaks about the military, this kind of this sort of soulless quality that, as you can see, even using the fast food example, like he throws in these little jabs, like these kind of cynical jabs, making it seem like something that's so mundane, so much a part of everyday life, could lead you into a trap. And there's even a quote here that sums it up perfectly, and it says, "It's the exit door leads in," he thought to himself, which is to say, when they want you, they already have you. All they need is the paperwork. And I would say that um, shows you it's really a warning from the writer about what society is going to be like in the future, which was another reason why he was considered so controversial back then when he was alive, because indeed there was this concept of kind of like in the 19th century um, of realism, that he this gritty kind of unapologetic realism that sci-fi writers had. That's why they were dismissed as being lowbrow, because they were exposing things that people didn't want the masses to see. And but in reality, it's anything but that. Is that it's the irony is that something that is uh, intellectually insightful and operates and has to function, think on many of these different levels, is considered just mindless entertainment. It's like and this is another thing you see in 1980, the book 1984 as well. Is that turning everything on its head, making everything seem the opposite of what it is. Um, and uh, and and a lot of that gritty realism is indeed what makes the story so funny and indeed so memorable. And it's this, and also, I think the psychic vampirism that I was talking about is indeed most evident in a lot of the authority figures, the authoritarianism that he witnesses at this school. So even though indeed it ends up working to his benefit, you could argue, because it's really about, it didn't actually want him to submit to authority. He still learns, you still learn a lot about the kinds of things that Philip K. Dick was criticizing in his own society in this story. And 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 I remember the first time I read this, I initially thought, oh, this is kind of bland. It's the style is bland, but actually, in reality, it was that side of American culture that that he was actually showing. You know, it's kind of like those comedians that have sometimes that very plain and deadpan delivery, but actually they're trying to illustrate something else. And it took me a few times, reading it a few times, to really be able to catch on to that. So that's just something that I think is that I've been thinking about quite a lot in regard to creating a dystopia in my own writing, because it's something that it's a work in progress, and and there's a lot of missing puzzle pieces that I feel like I still have, that I got the hang of it. I think that there are a lot of things that I picked up on in this story that gave me those puzzle pieces. But anyway, thank you. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye.